Hello and welcome all my dear Rajeshwar students. We continue with our first flight, the textbook in English for class 10. I hope all the students from all the three sections A, B and C are watching my videos regularly and following the instructions which are given. As you all know, this is Mr. Prabhat Sharma once again before you. And today we begin with lesson number 4 from first flight from the diary of Annie Frank. Annie Frank, who has written her diary during the hiding from Germans, from the Nazis. She was although German, but she was a Jew. Right? So before we read, we should know something about Annie Frank. Annie or Annie Lizzie Marie Annie Frank, who was born on 12th of June 1929, and exactly her date or day of death, even the month of death is not yet confirmed. Somewhere between February March in the year 1945, she died because she died in concentration camp by the Germans. Okay, she was a German by her nationality, but she was a Jew. So, born a Jewish girl who wrote while in hiding with her family and four friends in Amsterdam during the German occupation of the Netherlands. Netherlands मतलब Holland, समझे? In World War II. Her family had moved to Amsterdam after the Nazis gained power in Germany but were trapped when the Nazi occupation extended into the Netherlands. सो भाग के नीदरलैंड्स में आ गए, हॉलैंड में आ गए और छिपे रहे. लेकिन क्या हुआ कि जर्मनी ने नीदरलैंड्स पे भी कब्जा कर लिया, हॉलैंड पर कब्जा कर लिया. ओके, the Nazi, they were called as Nazis under Hitler, Adolf Hitler. Okay, and as persecutions against the Jewish population increased, the family went into hiding in July 1942 in hidden rooms in her father Otto Frank's office building. After 2 years in hiding, आप इमेजिन करिए 2 साल तक छिपे रहे, कितनी मुसीबतें. After 2 years in hiding, the group was betrayed and transported to the concentration camp system where Annie died of typhus in Bergen Belsen within days of her sister, Margaret Frank. Her father, Otto, the only survivor of the group, returned to Amsterdam after the war ended to find that her diary had been saved. Convinced that it was a unique record, he took action to have it published in English under the name The Diary of a Young Girl. So, after the World War ended and it was the defeat of the Nazis and the Hitler himself committed suicide. So, there was only a survivor, and that was her father, the only survivor. So, he got the diary which was written by Annie Frank published. Okay, guys? The diary was given to Annie Frank for her 13th birthday and chronicles and the events of her life from June 12th, 1942 until its final entry of 1st August 1944. It was eventually translated from its original Dutch into many languages and became one of the most it became one of the world's most widely read books. There have also been several films, television, and theatrical productions, and even an opera based on the diary. Described as a work of mature and insightful mind, The diary provides an intimate examination of daily life under Nazi occupation. Anne Frank has become one of the most renowned and discussed of the Holocaust victims. Holocaust मतलब नरसंहार, जिसमें सैकड़ों हजारों लाखों लोगों को इकट्ठा मार दिया गया था. Excuse me, guys. So, what all things we know about Annie Frank or Anneliese Marie Frank, known as Annie Frank, better. She was German, okay, and she became Dutch afterwards. She became uh, Netherlands inhabitant. Netherlands मतलब कौन सा देश है? हॉलैंड. So 12th June in 1929, she took birth, and she lived till either February or March 1945. So actually she was German Dutch diarist of Jewish origin. एक यहूदी समाज की थी वो. One of the most discussed Jewish victims of the Holocaust, she gained fame posthumously with the publication of the diary of a young girl, okay, which was originally in Dutch and afterwards it was translated to English. Dutch again is a language over here as English is. And Dutch are the people of Holland also called Dutch, and people of England are called English. That is another thing. So this diary was translated and published in English also later, in which in this diary, in particular this diary, she documents her life in hiding from 1942 1944 during the German occupation of the Netherlands. Okay, it's one of the world's best known books, and it has been basis for several plays and films, as I told you previously. बहुत सारे ड्रामा नाटक खेले गए उसके ऊपर. उसके मैंने जो कहानी बताई, जो इवेंट्स बताए, जो घटनाक्रम बताए, और फिल्म्स भी बनी. सो मैंने अभी तक बताया आपको. एनी फ्रैंक वॉज बॉर्न इन द ईयर 1929 and the date was 12th of June, and she died somewhere between February or March 1945, and she was only 15, so she was aged as 15 when she died. And what was the place she died? It was Bergen-Belsen concentration camp in eastern Hanover. It was during Nazi's time, Nazi occupied Germany, and her body rests in peace, okay, over the same place, Bergen-Belsen concentration camp in Germany. So she had no occupation. She is called a diarist, who had written a diary. And the language in which she has written is a Dutch language. So Dutch is a language also, and Dutch is the people who are living in Netherlands or Holland. So she was German until 1941, and the citizenship was lost, and she became stateless from 1941. And the relatives which she had were Otto Frank, who was her father, Edith Frank, the mother, Margot Frank, the sister, Buddy Elias, who was the cousin. So let me tell you once again before we end the video. Annie Frank was born in Frankfurt, Germany. She lived most of her life in or near Amsterdam, which is situated in Netherlands, formerly known as Holland. Having moved there with a family at the age of 4.5, when the Nazis gained control over Germany, born a German national, she lost her citizenship in 1941 and thus became stateless. मतलब किसी भी देश का नागरिक नहीं रही, उसकी नागरिकता ख़त्म कर दी उनके परिवार की. By May 1940, the Franks were trapped in Amsterdam by the German occupation of Netherlands. So Netherlands पे भी क्या हुआ, और उनका शहर जो एम्स्टर्डम था जहाँ पर ये लोग छिपे हुए थे, वहाँ पर भी जर्मनी की फ़ौज का कब्जा हो गया. As persecutions of German German army to the Jewish population increased in 1942, the Franks went into hiding in some concealed rooms, okay, behind a bookcase in the building where Annie's father, Otto Frank, worked. From then until family's arrest in Gestapo, is the name of place, in August 1944, she kept a diary she had received as a birthday present and wrote in it regularly. Following the arrest, the Franks were transported to concentration camps. ये यातना गृह थे जहाँ यातना दी जाती थी यहूदियों को, ज्यूज को सताया जाता था. In October or November in 1944, it's not sure, Annie and her sister Margaret were transferred from Auschwitz to Bergen-Belsen concentration camp, where they died, probably of typhus, a few months later. So both of them died. Firstly, her sister, and then she also succumbed to death. They were originally estimated by the Red Cross to have died in March, which with Dutch authorities setting 31st March as their official date of death. But research by the Annie Frank House in 2015 suggests that it is more likely that they died in February itself. Otto, the only survivor of the Frank family, he returned to Amsterdam after the war to find that her diary had been saved by his secretary, Mip Gies, and his efforts led to its publication in the year 1947. It was translated from its original Dutch version and first published in English in the year 1952 as Diary of a Young Girl, and since has been translated into over 70 different languages. So, Diary of a Young Girl बहुत उम्दा कहानी है. एक युद्ध से पीड़ित परिवार और एक लड़की की कहानी है, और उनके ऊपर क्या क्या अट्रॉसिटीज़ की गई उसकी कहानी है. Okay, and what was the early life of Annie Frank, okay, and the time period during which she chronicled her diary, and how she along with her family were arrested, and they were deported to the concentration camp and until the death. So this is what the Diary of a Young Girl says. Okay, it is about the early life. I have told you when she was born and brought up, and how they had to hide, okay, because the Nazi party had won and the leader was Adolf Hitler. He was against the Jews. So, and how long it was about 761 days they had spent in secret annex. Along each day was different from the last. There was certain rhythm to life in the secret annex. वो 761 डेज तक छिपे रहे बेचारे. आखिरी पकड़ा गए, किसी ने धोखा करा उनके साथ में, उनको पकड़वा दिया गया. ओके, तो व्हाट हैपेंड टू एनी फ्रैंक हियर? एनी एंड मार्गरेट फ्रैंक, दोनों बहन, दे इमीडिएट डेथ in the gas chambers. Okay, they were not sent to the gas chambers, and they were sent to a concentration camp which was in Bergen-Belsen and which was in North Germany. And in February or March 1945, the Frank sisters died of typhus and their bodies were thrown into a mass grave. बहुत सारे लोगों की कब्रें एक साथ खोल के कई सारे लोगों को एक साथ गाड़ दिया गया. Okay, so how did she really die? It is a typhus fever, a cause of death. इसे कहा जाता है कि उसको बुखार के कारण किसी तरह का खतरनाक बुखार था. So how do we know that Annie Frank died? So actually their bodies were thrown into mass grave, both the sisters, Frank sisters. And when the British force liberated the camp, okay, they found all these records. Okay, सो ये बहुत मुश्किल के दिन थे, days of great disaster and mishappenings, and how the Frank family survived and lived during those days.